Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go,
Yo, what's up? It's your hostess with the mostest. It's Pastor Keenan, PKR, back with another episode of People Suck, Love 'Em Anyways. And as always, I'm joined by my fantastic host, guest, left-hand man, because he always sits on the left-hand side of me. But Nick, my guy, how are you doing today on a beautiful, windy, gusty Tuesday evening? How are you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. The wind's been absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's been crazy, man, the last couple of days.
Couple months.
Well, that's true, man.
It's been crazy couple of months here.
We've been living in like low-grade hurricane winds, I feel like.
Right.
Since
I saw
the
somebody's
beginning of the
wig
year.
fly off the other day, just through the wind. Right?
Did they catch it? Or?
No.
Look better.
That's about as gone as our sign was the other day.
That's true. That's a true statement. It came back, though. It came back. So thank you for tuning in to, again, another episode of People Suck, Love 'Em Anyways. Thankful for all the downloads, the shares. Thankful that we're still reaching people in different states and countries. And, we are, again, we're always looking for ways to elevate, to make better, to reach different areas and demographics, and, to try to keep things fresh and working new and things like that. So, one thing that we've really kind of adopted here over the last couple of weeks is taking what we call bad news and making it good news. And what we mean by making it good news is through the gospel. Actually, taking a news article that seems kind of crazy in itself, but bad news, right? And putting it in a positive light with the gospel, and trying to give people a little bit more hope, right? And I think the one that Nick's going to read tonight, and we're going to talk about, which, by the way, we don't have a special guest this week, so you're just up to listening to us bounce back and forth tonight. But hopefully, it won't get too crazy. Last week we talked about the cult leader. Tonight we're going to talk about something that is far more serious.
I don't know about that.
Well, okay. Just as serious, sorry. Just as serious, I feel like. And,
still deadly.
But I feel like it hits more of home, maybe. I think maybe that's what
more
I meant
relatable.
to say. More relatable. There we go.
Unless you've starved to death in the last
this is true.
Days.
This is true. So, some people would say that about my weight loss now that I'm just starving myself to death.
It looked like it. I said on Facebook, it looked like you passed you, spit you out.
Yes, this is true. But tonight we're going to talk about, and of course, May is Mental Health Month, or Mental Health Awareness. And Nick's going to read or maybe go over a little snippet of an article tonight to kind of throw some numbers out there, some statistics that are alarming at best, and what we can do and how we can take and put a positive spin on this through Scripture. Go ahead, Nick.
Yes, again, if you've read the article of this, I'm sure, read the title of this episode of the podcast, you may have kind of given it away what we're going to talk about, but I'm reading a Washington Examiner article. Some of you guys, again, may have seen this. Again, this is American news, so, if you are listening from a different country, our apologies. Maybe we'll try to branch out a little bit more. We did last week, but we'll try to branch out a little bit more. So this is coming out of America. The United States Surgeon General is talking about how he believes loneliness is as deadly as smoking. Man. Pretty crazy statement for someone like that in that position to be making. He believes that we are experiencing an epidemic of loneliness and isolation. He has released a health advisory about the human need for social connection and community. He believes that loneliness presents health dangers as deadly as chronic smoking. So here's a couple of more snippets of this for you. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he kind of talks about, in the article it says, the report notes recent surveys showing about half of American adults experience loneliness, a trend more prominent in young adults, which can increase the risk of premature death by 26%.
Man.
Again, speaking from a perspective of where I've dealt with so many young kids, I've worked with kids in classroom settings and in Zoom settings, during the whole pandemic, and we'll touch on that a little bit throughout the episode. But it's pretty crazy to see how things have changed, and talking to teachers and how they see how things have changed. So another little snippet here for those ages 15 to 24, kind of the younger generation. I'm actually no longer in that generation, so I'm not that young anymore.
Right.
But, so the amount of time spent with friends in person has declined by 70% in the last 20 years. A trend exacerbated by the coronavirus pandemic in 2021. Most almost half reported having 3 or fewer close friends, which, my whole article just threw a fit on me. Which is up significantly from 1990, when only 27% reported the same. So 1990, 27% of people reported 3 or fewer friends. Now 2021, people are saying, much more than that.
Right.
So let's see here. Nearly 90% who do not have feeling, or who do not experience feeling lonely or isolated, report having 3 or more close friends. So 3 or more close friends mean you're feeling better.
Right.
Now this is the part that that rocked me here. As I'm stumbling all over this article. The mortality impact, so this is a direct quote, of being socially disconnected is similar to that caused by smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day.
Right.
And even greater than that associated with obesity and physical inactivity. It is associated with a greater risk of cardiovascular disease, dementia, stroke, depression, anxiety, and premature death.
And we're talking loneliness, right?
Yes.
That's what we're talking about, loneliness.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, don't put that article away, because I know that you read it, but as you said, you kind of had a stroke, kind of threw it here and there. So we'll go back over it with some numbers and stuff. First off, and again, we're going to be bouncing back and forth, so that way Nick's not putting 7-minute answers on me tonight. Ain't that right, Nick?
Apparently, I can't even get 7-minute answers.
But first off, I don't think, honestly, that this should surprise us in a sense of where we're going with the direction of the world. Mm-hmm. Ever since COVID, COVID taught us that it was cool to sit in your home and lock the door, except for essential
workers.
Turn the
lights down low.
Right, yeah, right. And through that moment in time, people began to excommunicate themselves from the world. Mm-hmm. And everything started taking more of an online type feature. DoorDash,
blew up.
Yeah, you can pick up your groceries, all that good jazz. I feel like there were some good things that came from it, but there was also a lot of bad. Mm-hmm. And loneliness, of course, is one of those things. And, to me, whenever we start talking about loneliness, it's so hard for people to communicate their feelings anymore. I think, I've always said that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but even in terms of that, I think that it's still difficult for people to communicate their feelings, because people want to be heard, I feel like, and the thing about that is that you have to make sure you're talking to the right people. Mm-hmm. Whenever you begin to get your feelings out on the table, because people who don't have your best interest at heart. People who will manipulate your feelings even worse sometimes. People who will take advantage of your feelings. I think oftentimes we get caught up, Nick, and you can kind of voice this, but I think sometimes we get caught up in we want to be heard so bad that we will begin to dump on anybody that's willing to listen. And sometimes anyone who's willing to listen is not always the best listener, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We can definitely dump a lot of information on people who are unworthy of that information.
Right.
They don't deserve that information from you. They don't deserve your vulnerability, because they're going to use that information to hurt you, to gossip about you, to talk about you behind your back, to use that against you later, for gaslighting purposes. There are people who are married to people that they can't even be open and honest to.
Right.
And as you said, I think, the number one thing that this generation wants is to be heard. They want their voices heard. We see, minority populations, we see, political parties, they all want their voice heard. They want their opinion heard. They want their likes and dislikes heard. They want that heard. They want to speak. They want a voice. They want a platform, and I think that that's something that everybody wants. But unfortunately, I think we can be so desperate sometimes to find that person or those people to listen to us that we oftentimes put the words or, put our inner thoughts and ideas and emotions and turmoil into the ears of the wrong people.
Right.
And that can end up getting us hurt, and, that can end up creating problems and more division and all these sorts of things. And so, I think it's just important that, we be guarded with our information, that we don't just, splurge it out to everybody and anybody. But we also need to make sure that we're taking the time to find good, trustworthy people to divulge that information to, as we've kind of read in this article. I mean, if we isolate ourselves, if we become so used to being hurt, if we become so used to being, just disregarded, or, if we become so used to not being heard, we can kind of put ourselves in a dangerous position, a deadly position even.
I think it kind of runs between going line, you walk a fine line, because I feel like the more that you vet your friends or you vet your outlets that you go to, things like that, like sometimes that'll even make you feel more lonely. And especially being, I think it depends a lot too on positions that you're in and things like that. Like I'll just go from a pastor perspective, things like that. It's like, whenever you go to talk to somebody, me myself, I have to be guarded. Whenever I convey my feelings, because if I just go to anybody at any time and I just lay out my feelings, well, number one, they may not know what I'm talking about at all. Number two, and I heard a guy say this the other day, that if you don't deal with frustration in one area of your life, it'll just bleed over in other areas. And so, you might not even be frustrated with an area that you're commenting on, but because another area of your life is frustrating right now, you will let that bleed over, and you'll just sound like you're angry, or that you're anxious, or that you're depressed, or whatever the outlet is right there. But even and this is just how I identify. You can talk, for a brief moment about how you identify with with what you do, and I'm not sure what you do, but
me either.
But just as being a pastor or something like that, like I said, I have to be guarded, because as I try to unveil and unwrap my feelings towards situations and topics and everything like that, like. I have to understand that there are people that are going to agree. There's people that's going to disagree. Not only that, there's people that are hurt. There's people that are angry. There's people that are frustrated. There's people that are mad. There's people that's depressed. So it's like you carry a huge burden. I feel like a lot of times whenever you want to express yourself, and even I think people that are getting lonely, like where this article is talking about, oftentimes the reason why they are lonely is because they are frustrated with other people, and frustration will cause you to withdraw. I mean, it will cause you to withdraw. It's just like this. Like if you're tired of seeing people fuss on Facebook and things like that, you'll just get off Facebook. I mean, my wife, she's I don't think she's had Facebook in I don't know, year and a half, I guess. I don't know. It's been a while. Simply because she just got tired of all the drama and crap that was on there. People just being stupid all the time, and and it's like, so you withdraw from that stuff, and I think we as humans, we're kind of programmed to do that. Now, some people love it. I don't, but some people do love drama, and they love to be in the middle of it, man. But me, myself, I tend, like, whenever stuff gets stupid, I just tend to withdraw and become reclusive, almost. And it's just like, I just want to shut everything off, shut my phone off, shut off like everything, and just be me. But I think, and I find honestly too, that's where the devil begins to work a lot, is in isolation. Again, I heard a good sermon about talking, did God put you in isolation, or, to work on you? Or are you in isolation because of the choices you've made, and you're allowing the devil to keep you there, So maybe you could talk just for a few seconds about how, isolation, how you deal with it. Why are you reclusive sometimes? Why do you go to that state, Yeah,
and I think, as you were kind of speaking a second ago, like this kind of verbiage kind of dropped in my head, but I was thinking, we a lot of times talk about pouring into other people. We talk about, pouring our ideas, our thoughts, beliefs, all that into other people. And, we talk about how you can't pour from an empty glass, empty vessel. If you don't go get refilled. You can't pour into other people. Right. As we were talking about that, I was also thinking, you can't pour into a broken teacup.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, if you're pouring into a broken teacup, your tea is going to spill everywhere.
Yeah. Oh,
if you're pouring into somebody, because we've all have broken past, we have trauma, we have experiences, we have hurt, we have heartache, and sometimes when we trust certain people with certain information, because of their brokenness, because of who they are, sometimes they will in turn use your information and spill it to other people to make themselves feel better about themselves. And it's hard to trust. Again, I think trust comes hand in hand sometimes with loneliness. Knowing who to trust, who you can trust, and I think sometimes people isolate themselves from other people because they have been burned so many times before.
Well, people suck.
Exactly. Exactly. People suck.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll get into it later about how we love them anyway.
Right. Yeah.
But I think again. Just how you deal with what was your question again? Just to double check.
Just how you deal, like why are you reclusive for sometimes? Yeah. Like what happens in your life? I was giving the example of just being a pastor and dealing with daily stuff on every day, and it's like sometimes it can become so. I ain't gonna say burdenful, but sometimes it can just you can just be like, really, like like there's so much that you're fussing about. Getting screwed at McDonald's, or you're fussing about, what somebody posts on Facebook, or you're like, like we've got so much, kind of like that video you just showed me. We've got so much other crap to be worried about in the world, and everything that's going on. Like, you got the Surgeon General saying that, people are like basically struggling with their health, like they're smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And, we're worried about whatever. We're worried about what the pastor's wearing on Sunday, or we're worried about, this podcast, or we're worried about whatever, and I think it's just, in regards to that, I think it's just, we have to really look at what people are struggling with, and why people are struggling, and why people are reclusive, and why they're dealing with things like that.
I think, because we talk all the time, you and I talk to other people about, some of the crazy stuff that we see on Facebook, on social media, the things that people are saying, the things people are complaining about, and I deal with things like, I don't want to say an unconventional way, but, I try to find humor in most situations, and I'm very sarcastic, I like to, drop, you call it negativity, we're going to be very clear with how I say that on this podcast. Because you can see it as me being negative, but really I try to just, I guess maybe I dwell on negative things more often than I should, because I just I find humor in, how people can possibly be, as stupid as they are sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
That they would complain over, such crazy and silly things, and I think a lot of us deal with a lot of things in a lot of different ways, and when it comes to loneliness, and it's, because this is serious, and I think, we kind of beating around the bush at it, but I want to get serious as far as when we talk about loneliness. This guy is a Surgeon General. He's a health authority in the United States. He is somebody who, we tend to look forward to. Fauci kind of ruined that for a while, but someone we tend to look forward to, or up to, for medical advice, medical information, and for someone like that to be saying that loneliness is equal to smoking 15 cigarettes in a day. We see somebody who smokes 15 cigarettes a day. They sound like they're on a respirator,
right?
Like they're barely making it. Lung cancer is an issue. Throat cancer could be an issue. They could have all these other types of health problems. From congestive heart failure to emphysema, like all these sorts of things that could come from smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And you're telling me that just because I've isolated myself from the world that I could be experiencing that?
Right.
And then I want you to take a step back and think, okay, we were all isolated from the world for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, and imagine, if you've been feeling more stressed lately, if you've been feeling more depressed lately, if you've been feeling hard, if you've been feeling like life is harder lately, if your breathing's been harder lately, if your heart's been hurting lately, like, think about it. If you were somebody who, didn't step foot in an office for a year, 2 years, if you're somebody who didn't, go to church for 6 months, if you're somebody who didn't, go to the gym for 6 months, like, if you were pulled out of your normal social behaviors and normal social atmospheres and your normal friend groups and your normal family members, if you were pulled out of that and separated that for such a long period of time, imagine the effects it's going to have on your body. If this guy is saying that, it's equal to 15 cigarettes a day per day that you're, you feel feel lonely. Like, just imagine, the health impact that has on your body, and be a little more, give yourself a little bit more grace, I think, like in those situations, like, no wonder you feel horrible.
Yeah, I think that, man. But I think, to step back and look at the effects that it has on the body. That's the thing. Like, we're talking health-wise. To look at how unhealthy it is, and heck, let's just go right in for the jugular. Let's talk about church for a little bit. I've always said, and I'll always stand by, the statement of I truly don't think that you have to be in church every Sunday, every Wednesday. I truly don't. I will say this, that if you're able to be here, I think you need to be here. That's just it. That's where I stand. Now, we can agree to disagree and go on. We can still be friends. If you don't agree with me, it's fine. Is that going to keep us out of heaven? I don't think so. What I think becomes an issue is that whenever we begin to, again, we've talked about this many times inside of here, where we begin to put more things in front of God of not being in the church house. Because here's the thing, and I want to talk about this, is the fact of that, I'm very vocal about this. I say, I come to church not for people, but for God, right? But people are, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but people are a side benefit of me being here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get to come to church, I get to worship God, I get to fellowship with Christ, I get to build, I get to build my faith, I just get ministered to while I'm here.
People are like the coffee and donuts,
right? Yeah,
it's just an extra reason.
It's just an extra reason. You got it, man. But that's the deal. Like, I get to see friends, I get to see family, I get to see babies, even though I don't hold them. I get to see kids. I get to see, like, I get to see God move in people's lives. Like, it's the benefit of coming to worship God, right? And so I'm putting God first by being here, and then I'm in corporate worship with my brothers and sisters, right? And when I'm in corporate worship with my brothers and sisters, here's the thing. And people don't understand this, like, and I'll say this, man, like, I'm not preaching on Sundays to get amens and claps, but they're wonderful to hear. I am blessed by people being engaged in the sermon. Like, we may get into the whole topics of what we talk about before we get in on here, but I am blessed by the people engaging in the sermon. But what I'm even more blessed by is whenever we make it to the altar call and people respond to the Spirit and the gospel. In that order, because people are moved by the Spirit to come to the altar because of something they've heard, maybe in song and worship or in the message, right? And so I'm blessed whenever I see my fellow congregants come to the altar, bow down, and pray. It gives me this fire, this passion, this desire to first off pray for them, but to secondly, I'm like, man, here's the thing about it. They're praying. We've got people behind them praying and engaging. I'm praying. We got the worship team playing. We got people out in the pews praying. It's a beautiful scenario where people are worshiping and praying together, okay? Together. And there's just something about corporate worship, prayer, and service that if I can come in a place where where all my new age people call it vibes, like where the vibes are good, there Jesus said, come to me, all who are heavy laden and burdened, and I will give you rest. So if he's given rest to me, it's like whenever I walk in here, the atmosphere seems light. Right? Because the Bible says where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. And so if I'm walking in here and it's freedom and it's light and people are smiling and people are laughing and people are having a good time and people are genuine, I hate that. Like I said Sunday, you attract what you put out. And so if I come into a place, to me, if I'm dealing with stress, depression, anxiety, I want to be in a place that's uplifting, that's fun, that's light, that's airy, that's roomy, that I can get around people that might help me, push forward into that situation. And so, you can take the mic just for a few seconds and talk, to me, corporate worship, coming together, again, every Sunday's not going to get you into heaven. But what if you come together as people, as groups of people, as much as what you can? As much as what you can. And let's be honest, we talked about this. People do what they want to do, right? Mm-hmm. As much as what you can and worship together. Be there together.
I mean, like we were saying, everybody has the same 24 hours in the day. You make time for what you want to make time for.
How do you spend it?
And and again, we back if you really, and I hate dwelling so much on the pandemic. If you go back to the pandemic and you think, we could, we were limited on what we could do with our time in a sense different than ever in history.
Were we limited or were we not creative?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I think that's the thing too. I mean, because you get because you can still, as it may not be the same, but you can still build community over a church live stream. You can still interact with each other. You can comment. You can say, hey, I'm glad to see you this morning. I'm glad you're here this morning. Glad you're watching. Glad you're listening. Hey, that was a good point. That was a good point. I like that. You can comment. You can do that kind of stuff. I know a lot of churches had moved to that live stream situation.
Yeah. Well, we did for a little while.
Yeah, exactly. And and I know that's something. Again, you can help fight loneliness by again, interacting where you can interact. Again, you want to be creative. You want to, again, it all comes down to where your heart's at. I think
absolutely.
in that situation, do you, is going to church, just something you did? Is it just something you did to check off a box, sit in a pew, listen to the songs, listen to the preacher, and then walk out? Or is it something that, oh my gosh, I can't stand that I can't be in church. I can't stand that the governor's keeping me at home. How can I figure out some way? Oh, he's doing a live stream of it. I'm going to watch that live stream. I'm going to get on there. I'm going to talk to everybody else on there. I can see on the side who's viewing it. I get like, hey, who are you? How are you doing? I'm doing great. I'm doing it great. I hope you're having a good time. Even though life sucks right now, everything's going great.
Right.
Build each other up. Hey, how can I pray for you guys on this live stream today? Anybody on here got prayer requests? When you share something on Facebook, commenting on it, sharing it with everybody else on your friends list, you can build community on a digital platform. I know a lot of people think that you can't, but you can.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen in a lot of different avenues. I've seen people, really get stuff, and I think it's harder to keep people's attention over a digital, which is wild. But I think it is harder to keep people's attention on a digital platform. I mean, you take. Again, I've done classes. I've taught classes over Zoom and over Google Meet and over Microsoft Teams, and it's a lot harder to keep a 7-year-old's attention on a Zoom meeting than it is when you're
it's
right
hard
in
to keep
front
my
of them.
attention on
right.
a Zoom.
Yeah,
meeting,
exactly.
man,
So I mean,
I have
it is
weekly,
harder. Yeah, right. Yeah, poor you.
I know, right?
It is harder to keep somebody's attention on a digital platform. But where are we at all day, 24/7, 365? How much time? And I think this is crazy to think about too. How much time do we spend on our phone? Like, we isolate ourselves in social situations.
Oh man,
right?
yeah. Now you're gonna start preaching
I know,
truth,
right?
dog.
We getting somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, how many times you see that meme on Facebook, like, oh, they don't know what they're missing out on, and you see a little kid on their phone and their grandpa's trying to eat across from them, eating breakfast.
Yeah,
You're like, man, this guy could die tomorrow, and you don't even care because you're on
But we're
phone.
like that in social situations.
We're like that in social situations. I mean,
Right.
how many times have you texted your wife or your husband something sitting right next to him?
Yeah.
You're sitting there, you're sitting there with your significant other, the person you
sending TikToks back
right?
and forth
when you could just turn the phone around, hey, watch this.
Right.
But we sit there and we isolate ourselves in social situations. That's where we've come to as a society. We want to be constantly distracted, but when we're in a social situation, it's hard to come up with the words to say. It's hard to come up with the things to talk about. It's hard to, because when you enter a conversation with somebody else, you are opening the door to something different, something unique, something potentially traumatic. I mean, you don't know what this person's going to say to you. You don't know what you're going to say to the other person. Like, it becomes, I think, a weird dance sometimes, in these social situations. But again,
it does.
It depends. To you, you're a social person, though.
You shut your mouth.
You're a very social person,
Not
but
really.
you think not really. Okay. But and you can talk to this wall right here beside us, and talk it into heaven if you want to.
You let me get enough caffeine in me, me, bro. I'll do whatever.
Run through the wall.
I'll run through the wall.
Cool it, man.
And then talk smack to the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you shouldn't have been there in the first place, stupid wall. But again, I think, depending on the type of person you are, I think it's easier for us to communicate digitally. And I think the pandemic, a lot of that has conditioned us to communicate a little bit more digitally. It's easier for us. It's, it's right at our fingertips. We don't have to. And we talk about that with like internet safety and bullying. If you're on the computer with somebody and you're gonna say something bad about your classmate, it's a lot easier to do it on Twitter than it is in their face.
That's kind of what I was gonna say really quick. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, I know.
But in the spirit of flopping it back and forth here, but I'm gonna put a whole different spin on it. And some people might be like, "Yo, that's not very Christian," but. Sometimes, man, I'll just be honest. I think we're scared to be real with people about our because that's one thing. That's one thing. Like, just again, me as a pastor, that's one thing that like people. You don't know about how real I want to be sometimes. I'm struggling to be real right now because I really want to just be like.
I've got the censor button ready over here.
Do we have the censor button? I don't know why I'm stopping now for because Sundays don't stop me, but I mean, people. In all honesty. People could give two shakes less whenever they come up and convey their feelings to me about my feelings as they convey their feelings.
Mm-hmm. You're going to have to explain that again for a couple people.
I know, right? What does he mean? Or he's always putting the focus on him, not on them, No, I feel like most of the time whenever somebody comes up and they want to convey their feelings to me, they don't care about my feelings as they convey their feelings. Mm-hmm. It's not like...
It's a one-sided conversation.
Exactly. It's not like... how's this going to make... I think this is where it comes to. I think it's like, again, we go back to, we want to be heard so much that we just project ourselves out there.
We neglect the other person.
We neglect the other person that we're talking to. And instead of coming at it in such a way of, it's just like, I want to tell you this. I don't know really how it's going to make you feel, but let's talk about how it makes you feel. And this dialogue that's going on back and forth, it's just more or less like, you come and you just voice your opinion about this situation. And again, that person might be dealing with anger, with depression, with disappointment. That person might have had something done to them by another person that I know nothing about whatsoever. But then that person comes to me and they're like, they just unload on me. At that point in time. And I'm like, okay, And then it's like you as a pastor, man, I feel like you run this interesting, let's just say, dynamic of you're always supposed to have the godly answer almost. You know what I'm saying? Or the godly response. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I just want to be Keenan. Sometimes I just want to take my hat off and be like, look, you ain't coming at me like that. Like, let me tell you about how I really feel. You know what I'm saying? But at the same point in time, I feel like that as a quote-unquote pastor, which I don't like to title myself because people just shut down whenever you say you're a pastor. But
sorry, let me put my Bud Light away.
Yeah, right. I'm judging you right now. But especially, I was going to say, especially Bud Light. But anyways, now, like, I just feel like the response, man, is always like you have to handle it in the most Christian-esque way possible. I can't just be Keenan because if I'm Keenan, then I'm combating flesh with flesh. Because if that person is not worried about my feelings as they speak their feelings, because we see that so many times, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we want our feelings to be heard so much that we care.
Go watch Fox News.
That we give two shakes less about what the other person who's receiving what we're saying. You know what I'm saying? And my wife Andrea will tell you this. Like, we've had knockdown dragouts about that before because she'll say, Keenan, it's not what you say, it's
how you say
it. And I'm like, I didn't say it that way. Sure sounded like it, and it's like, and I think as we've gotten older, or she's gotten older. No. I think as we've gotten older, it's kind of mellowed out to a point of where it's like you step back. And I think we've both become more attentive on not holding things in. You know what I'm saying? But also having a filter as to how we say them. because honestly, how you say it makes all the difference. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's something so little, something so minute. If you say it the wrong way, it could come across like, hey, Fort Knox has just been broken into.
Like you're doing a good job versus you're doing a good job.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's like, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, a great friend of mine who I've come to know through Isogenics is a developer, some kind of developer for Chick-fil-A in Louisville. And
where's our Chick-fil-A sponsorship?
I know, right? Man, I tell you know what? And that we need to get him down here on the podcast. No joke. But anyway,
free sandwiches.
I know.
On the pod.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We get some Chick-fil-A up here. We'd be super blessed.
Absolutely.
But he's and he was giving me an example. He said, Keenan, he said, one day I had this girl who literally, he said, she would look at people with the driest look on her face, like it looked like she was getting ready to be slapped. And he said she would look at people and go, "Thanks, have a nice day." And he said, whenever I brought her in to give her assessment, he said everything I said to her was in the exact tone that she was saying to customers. And he said, then I asked her, "How do you think you did?" He said, I was giving her compliments, but in the tone that she was talking with the customers. And he said, I asked her, "How do you think you did?" And she said, "Sounds like I did horrible." And he said, "No," he said, "I'm giving you strong compliments. It's just that I'm presenting them in the way that you was. I know you meant for people to have a good day, but it was the way you was saying it."
Just like if Wednesday Addams worked at Chick-fil-A.
Yes, pretty much.
It's
like
a pleasure.
And you're like, "Whoa, do you really mean it?" So that's where I think, like, honestly, we I don't know, man. It's like I know we have to be better about people's feelings. Myself included, you included, everybody included that's going to listen to this. Like we have to be better about people's feelings. We have to take into account before we go and voice an opinion, before we go and voice anything. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to really step back and filter and go, all right, like first off, being mad about something is not going to change you. That's deep. Being mad about it's not going to change it. All right, like we have to sit back and begin to inform our minds and our hearts of how we can go about making the situation better.
I think I'll play devil's advocate for a second here.
Okay.
All right. So you usually do it, so I'll play it here for a second.
Okay.
But
you're wrong.
Right?
Go ahead.
Hey.
Go ahead.
But just imagining for I don't only say imagining, but when someone says someone and someone gets upset by it, is that their fault or is it my fault for saying it a certain way? Like, is it if somebody gets upset about something, isn't that on them for getting upset about it?
Is it?
If you get offended by something, isn't that your fault for getting offended by it? Like, I said something I believe in strongly, and I say it and I preach it, but you get offended by it. Isn't that on you for getting offended by it?
I don't know if it's on me because in what direction did you come at? You know what I'm saying? Like, did you come shoving it down my throat? Like, I don't have a problem with you personally, but if you come to, I'll talk about you.
Yeah.
Now, but if you come at me and you're like, I don't know, let's just make up an example. Like, I don't have a problem with you, but if you come to me and you're like, "I'm going to tell you right now, this is what I stand for and this is what I believe in, and if you don't like that, then tough." If you come at me like that, I'm going to have a problem. I'm going to get offended straight up. I'm going to be like, "Yo, bro, like, first off, you need to slow your roll, calm down. Like, I don't know what you're so fired up about because I just try to chill and survive in the world. So, like, what do you, but like, if we're sitting down here at this table and you're like, Keenan, I support, I don't know, euthanizing animals. I don't know. I mean, Sarah McLachlan's not playing on this one, baby. I don't know, man. I'm just trying to find something that's like, I support gay marriage, whatever. I support whatever.
You all heard it, Pastor Keenan.
Yeah. Oh my God, let's get that rumor started. Like whatever the topic is, tattoos, whatever, man. Skinny jeans in church. Like, if you come at me and you sit down, like, I think it's about having a sensible conversation. And that is what human beings suck at, man, is having sensible conversations. Because here's the deal. If you don't like what I have to say, I get pissed off that you don't like what I have to say. And that conversation is done. It's done. And I've had
Great way to build relationships.
I know, right? And I've had people literally not come back to church because it's like they come and they say their opinion, and I'm like, it's great that you have an opinion. Now, if I agree with your opinion, either way, I'm going to take your opinion into consideration. But your opinion is not always best for the church. You know what I'm saying? Or for the people, or for the body, or whatever the case may be. So here's the thing. We can be as human beings and look and go, okay, well, he didn't agree with my opinion, but it's okay because it's still my opinion. Or we can literally shut down, seclude ourselves, become reclusive, let that, because here, I think honestly, the anger, things like that, they fester. We've talked about this. They fester. They go below the surface. We don't identify them. We live life from them. And then slowly and surely that becomes the cancer. That becomes the cancer that spreads to other areas of our life. We get angry about one topic. Now we angry about everything. Honestly. You know what I'm saying? We get angry. Somebody made us mad in church. Now we angry about everything. I hate people. People suck,
Preach.
right? Yeah, right. People suck. I hate everybody now because one person done you wrong. Now everybody's bad. We talk about this with the mentality of how because one person in a group does something bad, now the whole group is bad. Not necessarily the case, ladies and gentlemen. Like one person does you bad in church, not all churches are bad. We need to have informed adult conversations where people aren't like, I see your point, you see my point, now let's find some middle ground somewhere where we can work with. That's the issue. I feel like that's the deal. And I feel like people would be less, I don't know, like we probably wouldn't have to be putting out stats like this if we could have conversations. If we, like me and you are having conversations right now. And I know that
loneliness might be self-inflicted in many cases.
Well, true, but I think I think honestly too, though, there's probably things if we were to sit down here and talk until midnight, which we won't because I got to go home. But I think there's conversations that we could have where we found that we don't agree on everything. But at the same point in time, it's like I can see your point, you can see my point. We can find somewhat of a middle ground, or we can say, okay, well, I'll just agree to disagree, about a situation. And hey, I'm still going to do a podcast with you next Tuesday. I'm still going to come to church with you on Sunday. I'm still going to, I'm still going to go do things with you. Because why? Because that is the essence of being a human being.
That's how you have grown-up relationships, people.
Yes, that is how, like, we're not in third grade anymore. It's not one side of the classroom pick this, the other side pick that. It's not like that, like, and we have to be able, I think, to have those, again, to have other people's feelings in mind, and to have grown-ups, like, just to sit down and say, hey, look, like, let's have a conversation about it. How do you feel about this? Okay, well, this is how I feel. Okay. Well, and I think, honestly, like, my mom used to be great about this. She would look at me and she would say, if you can dish it out, you got to take it. And I think that's true. Because if we come up and we ask somebody's opinion of something, we best be ready for the response. You see what I'm saying? If I come up and I say, Nick, what's your opinion on how I dress? And you're like, you suck. You're not 20 anymore, Keenan. Stop shopping at Hollister. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be like, ooh, that's kind of tingly. That kind of hit me right in the heart.
You know, like tingly. Maybe you drink Bud Light.
Yeah, right. But, like if that's the case, I have to be ready for your response. And oftentimes we're not ready for people's response, right? And we're and that's the thing where, like, me, I have to be grown up as an individual, as a person. I'm an adult. My God, I'm supposed to make it in life, and yet somehow I'm being reclusive or secluded because of somebody's opinion. That's not very grown up. You know what I'm saying?
We say this all the time. But ladies and gentlemen, open your ears.
Yeah.
Because I promise you that every conversation you have with another person, you are not going to change that person's mind. You're not going to change that person's beliefs. You're not going to change that person's opinions.
What?
But
if we go
don't expect it the other way around.
Right. If we go into it for that reason, we're going to be disappointed.
Absolutely.
Right? We're
And
gonna
I think
be
a lot of people,
disappointed.
I mean, you see it all over Fox News, CNN. We don't discriminate. So I'll throw
Oh,
CNN
yeah. I
in this
thought you were
time.
just harping on Fox.
No, we'll throw CNN.
Because they fired Tucker.
Well,
but-
he fired somebody. CNN fired somebody too. But, with the force had to balance out.
True.
I think I made that joke last week. Anyway, so like, we go into conversations a lot of times. And like I said, I think we've talked about this before. We go into conversations a lot of times with the thought, I think Christians even go into the conversation a lot of time, like, my job is to change that person. I'm supposed to change what that person believes. I'm supposed to change what they think. This person right here that I'm looking at believes that gay marriage is right. And my job as a Christian is to make this person believe that gay marriage is wrong. Like, or we think, hey, this person believes that gun control is the thing to do. So my job is to change this person's opinion on whether or not gun control is important. So we bring in a bunch of facts to the table about how many people have walked into a church and shot up the church, but there was an armed gunman in there that shot that guy and saved the whole church. Like, we throw these statistics, we find factual evidence I say quote unquote factual evidence to support our opinion, to support our belief, to support our side and our argument, because we're trying to change the other person's opinion. Stop.
Yeah.
Like, stop trying to have conversations where you're trying to change someone else's mind about something.
Right.
Just sit down, have a conversation with the person. If you don't agree with them, if they offend you, that's on you.
Yeah.
Like, get over it.
Right.
Listen to that person, respect that person, love that person. They suck. You may think they suck because of what they believe in, but that doesn't mean they suck.
Right.
They have people that love them. They have people that care about them. They have people who want to see them tomorrow. They have people who expect things of them, just like you do you.
Yeah.
Like, we as human beings, if we want to get, I think a great way to get over this loneliness issue that we are dealing with and struggling with is, again, I think some of it is self-inflicted. I think we isolate ourselves from people who don't look like us, talk like us, think like us, believe like us, and I think it's important for us to take that step across the bridge, across the aisle to the other side, quote unquote other side, because there is no other side. It's a lot of gray area all out in the world out there. People believe different things. They have different ideas. I mean, heck, there's different brands of Christianity out there.
Yeah.
Like, just we need to be better about having conversations with people that don't look like us, talk like us, believe like us, act like us, however you want to insert there. We need to be better about doing that kind of stuff and understanding that, like, people are going to believe different than we believe. It is a fact. It is not going to change until Jesus comes back and we're all up there in heaven worshiping and worshiping together. Like, or God forbid you go the other way. But we want to make sure that, people understand, like, we have got to be better. We've got to be better human beings. We've got to be better conversators. we are conversers, how you want to say that. But we have to get better at building relationships if we want to keep from feeling lonely.
And that's the thing about it. I think, like I've said this on Wednesday night. I said this on Sunday. I posted this on Facebook. The power to be able to text or to call somebody and invite them to church. To invite them to church. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, newsflash, this is what we're supposed to be doing anyways. We are supposed to be inviting people to hear the word of God.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be having conversations. So, there were some people that showed up Sunday. Never been here before. Never heard the message. Never been in a service with us. And this is the thing. This guy posted on Facebook, shared our service, and he says, got to thank my buddy. I'm not going to throw the name out there. I might embarrass him. But he says, got to thank my buddy for sharing about his church he attends in Hodgenville. I went this AM and was blown away by 38-year-old Pastor Keenan Riley. Don't know why he threw my name or threw my age out there, but he did. You know what I'm saying? A lot of energy and a whole lot of truth. Now listen to what he says, because this really rocked me. I believe they are the best kept secret in 4 counties, if not the state. Why are we the why? I get the pun. I get the wording. You know what I'm saying? But why is it a secret of what we're doing right here? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Why hasn't or why isn't more people finding out about what we're doing? That's the thing about it. Like, to me, and let me read the rest of this real quick. It says, if you can't step back and take a look at how you're living your life, you may just get your feelings hurt with the truth. Whew. I mean, that's it. You know what I'm saying?
Like him to preach next week.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we need to get him on the podcast. Coffee and donuts are served this morning, which you should take advantage of because this ain't your regular out at noon church. Thanks to his buddy, and it was good meeting your better half. Fun fact, I got a text from Pastor Keenan a little over 1 hour after leaving the church thanking me for coming. He didn't have my number. If anyone wants to meet me next week, shoot me a... Now watch this. The power of having a conversation, the power of not being reclusive, the power of stepping out and saying, I'm going to make a difference, the power of saying I'm going to have a conversation. Watch this. If anyone wants to meet me next week, shoot me a message and we'll meet up. His service should be up later on their Facebook page. Just don't ever volunteer to go up on stage with him. You may stand there for an hour.
I can attest to that.
Absolutely. Here's the thing. Here's what happened. Because somebody decided to have a conversation with somebody else. That gentleman stepped into our church for the first time on Sunday. That gentleman had not been out of church for more than an hour before he decided to engage other people, have a conversation, invite them to a church he's been to one time. Mm-hmm. To me, Nick, it's about, again, having conversations. Texting, calling, emailing, whatever it takes to connect with people. Because here's the thing. I don't know if people know this. Let me say it really quietly. If we don't have people, we don't have a church. Ooh.
What?
Yeah. Newsflash. If we don't have people, we don't have a church. And here's the bigger newsflash. The reason why a lot of churches are dying and closing their doors across the United States of America is because the same dadgum people show up every Sunday for 72 years until they freaking die.
And bury them in the cemetery right
next
door.
And they bury them in the cemetery right out back, and their grandkids have a meal for them. You know what I'm saying? And it's like we've accomplished what we've set out to do. We filled up the cemetery. We've built the church. Now the grandkids are having potlucks on Sundays. We're missing it. We're missing it. If your church is not different faces, different spaces, and different places, we're missing it, buddy. And how do we get to that point? We have conversations. We have conversations with people. We talk about stuff. Hey, you ever feel like coming to church? You know what gets me, man? I don't know how long we've been on this, but I'm about to close up. But what gets me, man, is that we'll invite people to Taylor Swift concerts. Which I don't know anybody going to the Taylor Swift concert, like $1,000 ticket, dog. Set
Morgan
up in the
Wallen
Nosebleed
concert.
Yeah, but he's drunk and tripping all the time now.
Yeah, apparently he lost his voice.
Yeah, now he's lost. Yeah, right.
Because celebrities can't be human too.
This is true, man. But like we'll invite people to concerts. We'll invite people to ball games. We'll invite people to family gatherings. We'll invite people to the movies. We invite people to do. Hey, you want to go shopping today? We'll invite people go to the gym. We invite people to do everything. But whenever you look at somebody and you go, hey, invite somebody to church next Sunday, and it's like, why? Because you're afraid of how they'll respond? Are you afraid of rejection? Are you afraid of getting entangled into a conversation that you might not know all the answers? Are you afraid that people might be combative? Are you afraid that you might have to take time to pray for somebody? Are you? What is the question? Or what is the issue that we're dealing with? My thing is, man, what I've really been turned on to, and again, I heard it. You can't out-recruit depth, which means you go to the people that sits in this church, and you go, who do you know that I could talk to, or that you could talk to, that we can invite them to church? You know what I'm saying? Because let's grow this thing, baby. Let's blow it out of the water. I'm not satisfied with 110. Are you? That's a question.
No.
Don't fall asleep. I'm not satisfied with 110. Praise be to God that He's put 110, 120, 130, 150 in here sometimes, but I'm not satisfied with it.
No, you should never be satisfied. I mean, that's my big. If you're satisfied with what you have, Like, what are you
be
doing?
Thankful.
Yeah, be thankful.
But satisfied? I think you should always be hungry.
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of
what
like
businessman is going to make like $4 million and be like, I'm done?
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Well, screw business. Like, let's talk about food. You just eat one meal and that's it for the rest of your life? No, you're going to get hungry. 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 And if we're going to ever succeed in whatever in life, you've got to get hungry. You've got to be hungry. You've got to be hungry. If you want to get better physically, get hungry. Go to the gym. Get a plan. If you want to get better mentally, get hungry, man. Invest. Read some books. Listen to some stuff. If you want to get hungry spiritually, show up to church. Read the Bible. Get around people who are on fire. I'm sitting there I don't know who I'm snapping at. But,
I was like, what am I hearing in the
Yeah,
background?
exactly. But I'm just saying, man, get hungry. Like, you don't just eat one meal and die. You keep eating. You keep feeding when you get hungry, and that's how you grow. If we're going to grow in any area, man, we got to get hungry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and if you want, like, you got to get, like, we are, as human beings, I think we are wired to be hungry for connection.
Right.
I think we are wired to want to build bonds and relationships. We're not wired to be alone, and that's why we see mental health and physical health and that comparison that the Surgeon General put out, 15 cigarettes a day, like, that's why we see those problems, is because, for a while, we in our society is geared towards isolation.
Mm-hmm.
We're geared towards being alone. We're geared towards what's easy, what's fast, what's efficient. Mm-hmm. We're geared towards, let's work from home. We don't have to go to the office anymore. Mm-hmm. But there's introverts that thrive on being alone. Not to get too deep into that, but you're looking at people. We're looking at a giant group of human beings, just the entire population of the world. From a general stance, I believe that we constantly reach out for connection, and we want to connect with people. We want to be heard. We want to feel understood. But like, if you are comfortable just sitting there doing nothing all day long or experiencing the same thing over and over and over and over again, like, you're not going to get what you're looking for.
Right.
You can't find something if you're not looking for it, and you can't, and so you have to go out there. You have to look. You have to meet. You have to talk. You have to try. Like, if you're going to build a church, you have to invite people. If you're going to build a business, you have to do door-to-door marketing sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you have to get on the phone. You have to create advertisements. You have to make videos. You have to make posts. You have to reach out. You have to communicate.
Absolutely.
Like, that is how you build anything, from a business to a church. That's how you build relationships. You can't, you can't sit here all day long, like, if you're trying to find a significant other, you ain't going to find them sitting on your couch playing video games all day long. Like, and
Sure.
you have to get out there. You have to meet people. You have to make connections. You have to do these things. Like, there's so many times in the Bible that, it talks about how loneliness is detrimental, and how, like, we're supposed to be together. We're supposed to be, working together, moving together, loving together,
Right.
reaching out to many people in all nations, not just that person next to you, reaching out to people from all nations, people that you don't agree with, people from different counties, different states, different countries that we reach on this podcast. We can't get comfortable, because if we stop growing, if we stop trying, if we get comfortable, we get lazy, then we are not doing what God has called us to do. We are not doing what your boss has called you to do. You're not building a family if you're just sitting there being comfortable, not talking to anybody. You're not, and again, not to say that, I know there are people out there who live by themselves, who enjoy that, they thrive on that, they and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Again, I'm not trying to group everybody together. We've talked about the toxicity of doing that.
Right, yeah.
But, again, just, from a general standpoint, I just feel like we as human beings, we hunger for a connection with each other. And if we aren't trying to reach out, to build bridges, to pull more people in, to talk to them about Jesus, talk to them about our job, our business, if we're not talking about what we're passionate about, then we're not building connections. We're isolating ourselves, and we're going to experience negative health consequences, both physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. We're going to suffer in every area of life because we are isolating ourselves from people who could help us, who could restore us, who could build us up, who could lift us up, who could provide what we're missing, who could, just be that missing piece of the puzzle in our life. We need, or the missing piece of puzzle in our business, or missing piece of puzzle in our church. Like, we need to reach out there, because, if we stop, if we give up, if we quit, if we stop growing, then who knows what we're missing. I imagine that little meme I saw on Facebook, like this dude digging for gold with like a little mining pick, and he gives up, and like you can see there's just, if he'd hit one more time, that would have been there. And then so it's just like, don't give up. You could be one day, 1 minute, one person away from bringing somebody else into church, from getting a new client, from building a new business, from building your church, from building the kingdom of God, from getting that salvation. To like all these different things that you want to accomplish. Don't give up. Stop isolating yourself. Reach out, talk, build, grow. Continue to bring in more and more and more.
Absolutely.
And that's how you're going to do and accomplish your hopes, your dreams, your goals, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, man. I want to finish it off tonight, Matthew 18, 19, and 20. Let's just say we saved the best for last. Let's throw the good news in on it right here. It says again, this is Jesus talking, Matthew 18. It says, again, truly I tell you that if two of you on earth agree, big word right there, Nick. If 2 or 3 of you on earth agree, which means you come to some kind of agreement. You settle on something, right? About anything they ask for, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there I am with them. I think it shows in those moments and times, ladies and gentlemen, about how important it is to gather together.
Mm-hmm. There's power in connection.
There's power in connection. There's power in numbers.
Community.
There's power in community, but there's also power in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
In having conversations, agreeing, getting on the same page, and believing for the same thing. Because the Bible says at that point, whatever you ask for and agree with, my Father will give you from heaven, because I am with you. I am with you. I am with you. I love you guys. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Hopefully the rants and the raves and the conversations didn't run you off too much, but it's just our heart, man, and sometimes we want to speak from our heart and just, kind of let you know where we're coming from. So hit that download button, tell your friends, tell your family, and we'll be back with a guest next week. But we love you. Be blessed. Have a wonderful week in the name of Jesus.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go.
Thank you to everyone for listening to the People Suck But Love 'Em Anyways podcast. As always, you can check us out on Facebook at Fruition Church, YouTube at Fruition Church of Hodgenville, and check out our website at www.fruitionchurchky.org. Remember, don't suck and love people.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go.